Hey everybody, it's Julie from Mystical Moonchild. How are you today? I hope you're happy and well. And we're doing today's tarot reading. Oops, and there's our cards. What have we got for today? Give us a message. Ten of Wands. Whew, okay. Haven't you been through a lot? It's like things have come from all different directions. You had no straight information, and yet, tens are about, your lines of completion, tens are about a new beginning. So it's like you've been through a lot to get to where you are. So it's like now you've got the experience, you've picked up the pace, you can take off your blindfold because you know how to get there. It's familiar now. Obstacles are being removed. Okay? So you've done really well to come out and forward. So why are you not? What is your block? Because with the hands up in the air and the blindfold, it's like, look at you. You can't see. You're feeling etherically, energetically, and yet your feet are finding the way through. So, you are moving forward. You do have this. I just see it as, it's been hard. But the worst is really, over. You've got through it. You can just relax. Look, you're just about there. Then we've got the Two of Pentacles. Things coming into balance. There's lots of wisdom here. There's a lot of ancestry, a lot of ancient wisdom. It's saying that, you do know how to get through this. You always have. You could say you can do it in the dark because you're blindfolded. You've got it. Do you know what I mean? There's different ways you can look at that too. But the balance is there. Everything's in the flow. The ancestry. Look at the ancestors behind you. The knowledge that you have within. And the balancing out. So you can move forward. Then we have the Six of Swords. So once again, the Six of Swords is like you found your way through an awkward situation. Once again, this is talking about the challenges that you've overcome. You've found your way through. And now you can move forward. You're guided this way. Just trust your intuition. And then we have the Queen of Cups here. King, Queen energy. This is, royal energy. Cups are emotions. It's seeing, your life fulfilled, or you're sitting there pondering on everything that's gone wrong that you can't change. Now, who says you can't change the past? Maybe you can. Maybe you can reach out and, see what comes back. But then again, if it's closed, it's doors that don't need to be opened again. It means you've learnt the lesson too. And if you don't learn things, you've got nothing to really concrete your foundations into about how to move forward either. And emotions, that's a nurturing time for yourself too, where you sit there and you reflect. You could be doing some shadow work, thinking about how you could have done things differently. Would you have done things differently? Or was it just where you were at that time in your life? Where, you didn't really think deep enough about, what was happening with everybody else. It was just, maybe a little bit more about you. That's not a crime. It just, we sit at different levels throughout our lives. And when you make mistakes in that, it's not a jail term either for the rest of your life. It's like, okay, try and change things if you can. You know, admit that you're wrong. That is so simple to say, you know, I really got that wrong. People can't do that. They can never admit. And it's like, why? If you stuff up, you stuff up. You know, own it. It's a lesson learned. Chalk it down to experience not to go back there next time. Sometimes you can be very, very hard on yourselves. You know, and the way you react to things, why do you react to certain things in a certain way? Is that the same reaction you give every time you're thrown into this situation? So what are you doing there? Do you want to move through that? Or do you want this cycle to be on repeat because you're not really getting the lesson here? Do you want to change it? You know, now, saying to change it, sometimes you might have done something that you really can't change. Okay? And that you have to wear. But, in all honesty, you can shift the energy around that too. Okay? If it was bad. Because you can send that situation love and healing. Every time it comes up, send it more love. Okay? You can't change the outcome that happened, but you can shift the energy of the whole thing as well to make it softer, gentler, like understanding it is a lesson. Or it could have been a contract that you came here to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can shift that energy and make it lighter and brighter and diffuse it. Okay? And then when you reflect with the way you react to things, and if it's the same reaction all the time, you know, where did that start in your life? Where'd you get so defensive? Where did you feel that you weren't good enough and like you just had to do something to come out in front to be noticed? You know, like whatever it was. You know, just go into that space. And don't be afraid of visiting that. Because, you know, we're yin and yang. We're dark and light. And without the dark teaching us how to come forward, there would be no light. So you've got to see this, you know. And move through it. Like a guidebook of learning. Traffic rules. You know, learning the traffic rules and how to drive on the roads. You don't agree with it all, but you know you've got to do it. Okay? So this is like, you know, you've gone through this process, this has happened, you didn't like the outcome, but that's the outcome you chose at that time, under whatever circumstances was around and happening to you back then. Now you're not proud of it. Now you want to change that. You know, you want to just let it go and just soften that, just send it love so you can move forward, because we all know hurt, anger, you know, anger is so bad. You do not really want to carry that in your body. You need to disperse that heavy, dense energy and just allow it to go. Own up. Yeah, I've effed up, you know. I am really sorry. You know, maybe it's yourself you have to tell this to. Because maybe it's not as bad as what it is in your head. Or maybe the conditioning you've had has made you feel it's worse than what it is. So many different situations how this can relate and be. But at the end of the day, it's like, how can you change this for the better? Okay? It's like writing a story, you know, here's a fairy tale, but instead of having the happy end ever after, it will be, but it will be in a reality one, not a make-believe happy ever after, because you will change, make that shift happen, and tell it in a different way. So I hope you've enjoyed this reading tonight, and basically just let things go when things come up that you've not been happy with, that you've done or somebody's done to you. Don't hang on to it. Find a way of just moving through it, dispersing it, clearing that heavy fog that's going to sit there and make you wallow in all the time. Lighten it up. Look at the incense. Lighten it up. Make it airy fairy. But, lighten it up. Send it blessings. Send it love. Send it healing. And just realize that that part is done now. Unless it comes up again, those memories, those emotions where you just feel like I've got to give a little bit more. That's fine. And remember, people are here to teach you. People are here to mirror things at you. You're here to understand your reactions. How do you react? This is so much deeper than just what actually happens in the spare of the moment. That's not correct. There is lessons to be learned, and that's what you've got to delve into, the lessons and what you've learned from the situation or the outcome or whatever it is. Okay, bye for now.